Oh, okay.
See, that was instantaneous.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. The 559th meeting of the Planning Board of the Village of Depew will come to order at 7:01 p.m. Can we have a roll call, please?
Member Soha.
Here.
Member Fedorovich.
Here.
Member Matuzek.
Here.
Member Morawski.
Here.
And Chairman Wojciechowski.
Here. Could everyone please rise for the pledge to the flag? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notification of emergency exits.
The emergency exits are located to my left and the rear of the room. In the event of an alarm or emergency, please move in an orderly fashion to the exits and evacuate the building.
Thank you. We have one item on the agenda for tonight. It's for the property located at 4388 Broadway. Could we have the legal notice, please?
Please take notice that the Village of Depew Planning Board will hold a hearing on Thursday, February 1st, 2024 at 7 p.m. A pre-board meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. in the conference room in the council chambers of the municipal building, 85 Manitou Street, Depew, New York, to consider the application for submission by James Seraphin Sr. on behalf of Seraphin Properties LLC for the property located at 4388 Broadway Street, Depew, New York, 14043. The following matters to be reviewed. They are requesting the following: to propose a 5,000 square foot expansion to the existing building. Any and all persons interested in such application will be heard at this time.
Thank you. Who is here representing the project? If you could come forward to the podium, please. For the record, state your name, your relationship to the project, and then please supply the board an overview of what you are proposing.
James Seraphin, representing Seraphin Properties, QMC Technologies. We're proposing to add a approximately 5,000 square foot building for warehousing to the existing property.
Okay, what is the proposed addition going to be utilized for?
Warehouse.
Warehouse? Okay. And I know part of your submittal with the setback going to 5 foot would require a variance from ZBA.
Correct.
Just looking at the property, and I know your existing building, you do have 2 overhead dock doors on that east elevation. With putting this addition on, I know you're proposing 2 more. What basically were those overhead doors being utilized for?
Originally, they were used for loading and unloading materials. When that property was first developed, there was access to that, which has been subsequently taken away, been denied us. We're just going to move those 2 doors, and it basically for ventilation. The way that building ventilates, the wind comes over and it pushes from the east. So there would be ventilation doors. We have no access to use them as loading doors.
Yes, well, that was our question, because obviously, yes, with the property divided the way it is, yes, there's no access. So that, yes, that was one of our questions. Obviously, with what we had the last 2 weeks, one of our concerns was snow storage. Kind of seeing the way the snow is piled up there right now, just short of those loading docks. What is your plan there for snow storage now that you're not going to have that driveway?
Well, we basically don't use that driveway now, and probably if the snow had melted, you just see it's blocked off at the north side. So all the snow from the property behind us is pushed to the east over there. We won't need to plow that because it'll be gone.
One of the things I did notice, which you are required by code, and this will be one of the stipulations, your front parking lot's going to have one handicapped parking space. So that area right in the front where you've got the 4 spots, one of those, they have to be designated as a handicap. One of the things we were talking about, and I didn't see it, and actually I don't think anybody really saw it, do you have a dumpster at your facility?
We have no, we don't have a garbage dumpster. We use the village service. We have a temporary dumpster in there where we're cleaning up. We're putting metal, old machinery, things like that. That's going to go away. That's not there. That's not permanent.
So for your weekly garbage, is it through the village totes? Is that what you're
Yeah,
using?
totes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And what about any runoff now with this proposed addition?
So the runoff is going to come to, adding the roof line is just going to be guttered. That's going to go and tie into the existing underground that go to the sewer on Broadway.
Okay. And
Or be tied.
nothing is going to change to the elevation on your property as far as anything running off to the existing properties?
Actually, it's going to be less, because what's going to happen is any load on the roof is now going to go through the gutter system, where now that area between the building and the property line is running off. That'll be changed.
Okay, very good. Board members, questions? Anything for board members? Okay, move on to legal. Sam?
Nothing from me. I had a comment on the seeker you submitted that I think code enforcement abated my concern, but I just wanted to note that on number 9, you had made reference to the action exceeding the state energy code requirements. You clicked yes, and there's a required explanation there, so I don't know if you wanted to.
What are we referring to?
In your state environmental
Your
quality
seeker
review
application?
submission,
Okay, and
and then number 9 there.
what was the question?
So you answered the question yes to, does the proposed action meet or exceed the state energy code requirements? And there's a box for an explanation there about design features and technologies.
I think that was a mistake. I don't believe it does.
Don, do you have any comments on that?
No, as long as we clarify that here in this meeting.
Okay, yeah, if that's a mistake, we'll check no.
So what would be an example of exceeded of the state energy code requirements?
Okay, well, let's just say for argument's sake that your building had to meet a certain requirement for energy code, which would be insulation, types of electrical you're using, things like that. Your types of heater, you can get a 95% efficiency rather than 85. So whatever those requirements are, you're saying you're going to exceed them, you would have to prove how you're exceeding them in this.
Oh, so the building will be insulated to code. The only electricity in there is going to be lighting.
Yeah.
The heat from the existing building is going to take care of whatever's over there.
So you're not going to exceed it, you're just going
No,
to
that's
meet
correct.
the
Yeah.
minimum. Okay,
Yes.
just wanted to clarify.
So that was checked off an error?
I believe so.
Okay, when we go through that secret, we'll, for the minutes, make that known that that was checked off. an
Well,
error.
so I think I actually read it wrong a little bit. So as long as it meets it, we're good, and we just need that to be clarified on the record. You're not going to exceed the energy requirements.
Yeah, does the proposed action meet or
So-
exceed the state energy code requirements? So maybe we were reading that to say,
Yeah.
will you be in code?
Right.
You're not going to be deficient, right?
So the answer just
Should be yes,
Just so the record's clear, it should be
right?
yes.
Should be yes,
It will meet the requirements, not exceed the requirements.
right.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Anything else, Sam?
Nothing else from me.
Code enforcement, Kate?
So, I listened to everything you said, and you addressed most of the questions that we would have had. The only question I have is in regards to the dumpster. So right now, you're using totes, and you're probably grandfathered in because you were utilizing before. But when you increase the size of the building, especially by, 5,000 square feet?
Correct.
There's a good chance you're gonna produce more garbage, which they won't allow you to increase the dumps, or the totes. In the event that that happens, you would have to put a dumpster and a corral in.
Right now, what we have is we have a service that takes away our cardboard. So the things that are going to go into that warehouse are going to come in cardboard boxes. They're going to be shelved, and then they're going to go out in cardboard
Okay,
boxes.
so you have a plan for that?
I already have it.
Okay. All right.
They come weekly to pull that cardboard.
And you don't think you're gonna produce any more garbage where you may require?
There'll be no more garbage, it'll be
Okay.
more cardboard.
Just
Broken down boxes.
Okay.
Anything else, Dan?
Nope, they've addressed everything else on here.
Anything else from engineering, Terry?
Terry, everything we covered there was the questions that Terry had on here, so.
Okay. Moving along, fire, anything, fire chief? Okay, we'll move on to public concerns and comments. Any public concerns and comments? Okay, sir, could you come up and, for the record, state your name and address, please?
Scott Moore. I'm one of the owners of 4396 Broadway, the property adjacent to Jim.
I'm sorry, what was your name again, sir?
Guy, G-U-I. You want me to spell the last name?
Yes, please.
Modicamore, M-O-D-I-C-A-A-M-O-R-E.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm one of the owners of 4396 Broadway. And so we just have a couple of questions, and I think I went to go see Don a couple days ago, and he told me about the setback is, on the plans, it's 5 foot instead of 10 foot, like it's supposed to be, I think. So is that something that's going to be rectified, or?
He has to go to the zoning board of appeals
Okay,
for a variance. The zoning board waits on our end, what our decision is, and they will look at that, and they will make their decision whether they're going to grant that variance or not.
right. I'm just wondering why, like, the 5 feet is, I mean, maybe Jim can answer this, but, like, that 5 feet is important. Like, why is it over the 5 feet, or?
Well,
But
we-
10-foot,
Well, why isn't it
Well,
10 feet? Why didn't Jim make the plans 10 feet instead of 5 feet?
I don't-
I mean, 10 feet.
That's,
And-
that's
Okay.
not really a question this board can answer.
No.
Okay.
I guess, I don't know,
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Feeney could answer that?
Maximize the square footage. But I believe the minimum variance is 5. I don't think you can exceed, or you can get less than 5.
Right.
We're trying to get, what?
Okay, I understood from Don it
With the
was,
variance,
With the variance.
oh, with the variance.
the
Okay.
or the minimum is 5, as I understand it.
Yes.
Now, the variance is a separate meeting with the zoning
Right.
board of appeals. You'll get notice of that. You're
Right.
welcome to come and speak at that as well.
Okay. So I guess the only other issue that we have is, I know Jim said the drainage is going to be better, but the drainage from between his building and JBF slopes into my driveway, which now it goes into his unused portion of his loading dock area. With the building there, I think all that water is going to run straight into my driveway. He's going to have like a black wall there. It's going to be a waterfall. I mean, especially now with all the snow and the water. I mean, it's not like it's a pretty big slope. So, I mean, I would say that would be my major concern. I'm going to have a lot more water in my driveway. I mean, I know he's saying that, you know, the drainage is going to go right into the sewer. Am I correct? Like from the gutter
Yeah, the
into
storm
the
sewer.
Like from the roof, right? I'm worried about the snow and the rainwater that's in between the buildings. That runoff is not going to be shared between, you know, my driveway and his loading dock anymore. It's going to go right onto my driveway. It's going to be like a waterfall going in there, which, I mean, I invite the board to come and take a look at the slope of that land there. I mean, there's going to be a lot more water in my driveway that I'm going to have to take care of. I would think that there should be a drain up on top between the properties there to compensate for some of this water drain off. There should have been one already there. I mean, but now it's going to be more, I think, because there's going to be it's going to be the same amount of water and snow in a less, you know, constrained area now. It's going to go right around his building into my driveway. So, I mean, other than that, I don't know. I think that's something you have to consider.
you know, when I went out there, I was out there today and took a look at all this. The slope from between the two existing now is continuous all the way down. It is deeper in this corner where there's kind of a block off there, but I don't think that the amount of water coming down there is going to change. That's running between the two buildings. That's always been a constant, and it's an existing situation. In my opinion, I think it'd be better, if anything, other than worse.
You think there's going to be less water in my driveway?
Yes.
Even though you're taking away room where the water runs off?
But all this slopes downhill already. So this water's always gonna run down here to this property. This entire thing. See what I'm talking about here?
Yep.
So now this building's gonna come out to here.
Right.
That doesn't change the amount of water that runs between the two buildings. That's still gonna be a constant.
But the water, instead of the water running here alongside his building also, it's not gonna run alongside his building, it's gonna be like a wall, it's gonna run around the corner here, right?
But the amount of water shouldn't change though. It may look like more coming from there.
The amount of water is not gonna change, I agree with you.
Just a smaller area.
It's gonna be more on my driveway, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that if this is Jim's driveway and this is my driveway, right, and he's building a wall here, then all the water that's gonna go here
I'll go around it.
is gonna go here, right? I mean,
Terry didn't have any comments on that, correct?
The comments that he had on here, this was, let's see. From the looks of the picture below, a raised foundation footing would be required to accommodate the slope of the property. If I had to guess, I'd say the elevation of the building to grade on the east side here would be 20 feet or so towards the back. The proposed east building elevation shows two, well, that's the garage doors, I apologize, give me a second. Condition agreement, also, it appears the stormwater currently drains to the adjacent property low points, which he's referring to yours, within the paved area. Not clear if there is an existing CB, which I'm assuming is a catch basin. Within the pavement on the east side of the building, it looks like the existing downspouts of the corner of the building goes below ground and out somewhere, which is, the system that they have now. So he does address it on here that there is not a catch basin on the corner of that.
which, that's,
So that's something that
that's
we're gonna have to
what I'm
decide.
talking about, that's.
Mr. Sheriffin?
Can I add to it? So when the properties were originally designed, there's two catch basins that catch all the water that comes from the north between the two buildings and anything that came from our property or sloped that way. One is half midway in the driveway and the other is right at the corner of his property.
They're both right here.
So that's not gonna change anything. In fact, we're gonna reduce the load because now we're gonna divert all the water to be coming off that roof. It's gonna be going into the tie-ins, right, to the storm sewer drains. I can't see how that's gonna change. It's everything that comes between the back of the buildings now, and you can go there and look, is gonna go the same way it is now. It ends up in the same place.
Right. But I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying that the amount of water in between the buildings, I understand on top of the buildings,
I'm
that's
talking
no.
about between the buildings too. So
Yeah.
that's not gonna change. What our proposal is gonna actually reduce the amount of water that those catch basins gotta actually catch. Because anything on the roof is gonna be tied in, so that eliminates that. So now all you have left is what's between the building to the north of us and us, which is pre-existing. That wall is still running, we're not changing anything, that's still all running into that northernmost catch basin.
Well, you're talking about the new roof.
The new roof is gonna divert anything that's gonna come to that center catch basin.
Right, but
Because that's the lowest one.
But I'm just talking about the rain and the snow that are in between the buildings. It's always gonna be the same.
That's
You're
right.
eliminating-
I'm not changing anything.
Well, yeah, you're not changing anything. You're eliminating space for the water to run off instead of going in the loading dock, in your loading dock area or your driveway there. It's all that existing water in between the buildings and
Our
snow.
loading dock area doesn't, we have no receiver there.
Well, I know you don't have any receiver there. It runs into that and then,
Where does it go? It goes back down to your catch basin.
well, yeah, and there's more effect on my driveway there. That's all I'm saying.
Does he give any indication that he thinks that's something that's necessary? Or does he just comment that it isn't
It
there?
just comments that it's not there.
I mean,
I think we need more information from him.
We could add a stipulation, that
I think a catch basin in between the
Well, I mean,
buildings
look-
is ideal, but
Would you be opposed to putting a catch basin on the corner there that leads to those same drains?
I don't have any property. That property's owned by JVF.
Well, I'm talking about that 5 foot, just behind, let's just say behind, that 5 foot where it comes back, directly behind the corner of your new addition. You could probably, you gotta put downspout there anyways. So how hard would it be to go back a few more feet and put a catch basin to catch any excess of water that may come around that
I
corner?
can catch water on my property, sure. That would actually be
Okay. So a
What
stipulation
it's
is.
going to do, I don't know, but that's fine. That's
Okay.
easy, right? Because I got the tie-in already there.
Okay.
It's a lot simpler than the stipulation I was thinking of, so.
Would that address your?
I was going to say, what do you
Well, I mean, that'll address some of it, sure. Catch basin up on the level of his property is going to help.
Correct.
You know, the water runoff from in between the buildings, and that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So a question for either one of you two gentlemen, was something we were discussing. That main roadway behind Mr. Serafin's building, who actually owns that main roadway?
Behind his building,
Yes.
I believe JBF owns 20 feet or something, and it's shared.
I have an easement, okay? For access. That's JBF property. I think if you look at the survey, you'll see
That one up.
it's
Oh, yeah,
7
there you
feet at that corner.
So they maintain that roadway?
JBF.
Easement.
Okay, that was a question we had.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, I did, and I don't know if I should bring them in, but you probably could ask them. They are planning to resurface that at some point, and there was talk about them putting a receiver in all, but I can't speak for them. But they were talking about putting in a receiver up at, so the northeast corner.
Yeah, well, if they decide to come forward and actually do that, I would address that with them at that point in time. Because if they're gonna redo all that, they'd be required to get a permit anyways.
So they would end up putting a receiver
Well, here, this is,
here.
he owns this section here, but this is, so the building directly behind you owns that?
Yes.
And, all right, and you have an easement on here?
Yes.
So that's, you own 10 feet behind your building and then 20
It
feet?
varies,
Oh,
it tapers. If you look at the survey, you'll see at the northwest corner is, I don't know,
Can't
maybe
read
like
that.
12 feet, and it tapers down to that corner
Yeah.
to about 4 or 5 feet, maybe 6 feet.
Right here.
Are you looking at the survey?
Yeah, it's just so small, you can't really read it. Looks like maybe 11 feet on the corner of your existing building closest to his property. And then it obviously gets a little bit wider as it goes down a couple of
Yeah.
feet.
So go 10 and then bigger away from my building.
Yes.
So how wide is the
Yeah, it's in,
easement?
it says
Jim?
15.
Wide ingress
So
and egress.
at that corner of our existing building is 11 feet.
Yeah.
I don't know. You need that?
Yeah, that's what it
That's
said.
going to take it down, I would guess, to about 8, 9 feet.
So about 10 feet. How wide is the easement?
The easement is 30 foot wide.
About 30 foot.
Okay,
So by you putting that in the corner, that should alleviate.
Well, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we just put that as a
Yeah,
stipulation.
so if that's one of our stipulations, does that,
Yeah, I mean, that would help, sure. We're not gonna do it, we're not gonna, have a miracle here and get all the water in there, but it's gonna
yeah,
help
I
with
mean, you're never
something.
gonna do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He
Yeah.
has to accept the fact, though, that as he bought the property, those pre-existing conditions were there. That water has always been running there for 40 years. And
Yes.
those catch basins were designed, because when our building was designed, it was designed with access to those double doors, okay? And so therefore, the elevation went down. To compensate for that, they put the catch basins. Because his property is higher, JBF is higher, my property is higher, but the driveway between is the lowest point.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why those catch basins were put in.
Well, yeah, existing when the property was developed. But
Now,
that
you're
doesn't account for the
changing,
building.
Yeah,
That-
things change and they need to be updated and.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't account for the building. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't designed to have the 5,000-foot addition,
but right now, we're arguing over nothing because we've already made a decision.
Yeah, it's a close issue.
And we do want to keep our records distinct and clear. There's a person who's got to type it up.
Anything else?
Nope, I mean, nothing that I can control. I mean, the visibility of my building decreases substantially with that in the way. I don't think we can do anything about that. I mean, good for Jim that he needs the room, that he's growing his business, but, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
basic-
rely on, that's the way the world works. I mean, I rely on people off the street to see, the sign and to see the building when they drive by. I mean, but
Unfortunately, it's a typical industrial park,
I
basically.
can't do anything about that, but, and that's the only other issue I have, which maybe I could take it up with the assessment board when the time comes, but,
Okay. Anything else?
nope.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other public concerns or comments?
I got just one.
Again, for the record, sir, state your name and your address, please.
Yeah, my name is Tom Fisher. I live at 32 Chateau Court. I'm just concerned about the noise. I know there's a noise ordinance in the village. We have residents that are adjacent to this area. There's always a lot of noise. We understand there's an hour, I think 11 o'clock at night, there's not supposed to be any trucks running. And I think before 7, they're not supposed to be doing whatever they got to do, okay? But I don't know if that is adhered to. I don't like to call the police and complain, but there are times when it does happen.
Well, in that case, you'll have to understand that you still, even though you have a business, you do have to
They have to
follow the
abide
same
by.
ordinance everyone else does.
Our operating hours
No.
are 7 in the morning, at the most 4:30 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So
Understand.
the trucking company, I think, is what he's talking about.
True, true, it is.
Okay.
There's two companies there.
Right.
All right, I'm sorry, but I want to make sure they understand that because it doesn't seem like they do in all cases. Most cases, it's pretty good. I'm not complaining totally, but there is still a lot of noise that goes on later. Okay?
Thank you.
Well, again, if the noise is going outside of what the ordinance says, do call the police department because then it goes on record. And if
Okay.
it continues.
In the
then
past, I
obviously-
have, especially when they were running trucks after 11 o'clock, the diesels running and all that. But that's
You have
not
that
the,
problem,
that's
you
not
call
the
me
current
directly.
people that are there. It was other companies
That should
there.
not be a problem, especially
Yeah.
diesel.
You call me directly and I'll handle it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Any other public concerns or comments? Okay. Before we,
Oh,
Chief,
Brian
I'm sorry.
Muslak, 46 Stewart Drive, Depew, New York. I'm going to introduce myself. I know we had a pre-board meeting, but again, my name is Brian Muslak, lived in the village my whole entire life. I've been in the fire department 30-plus years, just became the department chief, and I look forward to working with everybody on the planning board, along with the village residents and our business owners as well in the village. Anytime you guys need anything from my end, from my office, please feel free to reach out, and definitely look forward to working with everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Chief.
you.
Can I speak on that? Because there, as I understand it, Guy now has a chain link fence across fire access to these buildings.
I think that's a conversation we should have off the record. You're welcome to talk to the fire chief, but we need to keep your record succinct in the event that.
That's a concern. The fire chief is also the village fire marshal, so that's, something you need to discuss with the fire marshal.
He's here. We'll be done in 5 minutes. You're welcome
Yep.
to talk to him.
Well, we got to read the secret, so 10 minutes. So before we move on, making a decision on this, we will go through the secret form. I did have here, it's around somewhere. There it is. Thank you. So part 1, name of action or project, QMC Technologies Edition. Project location, 4388 Broadway, Depew, New York, 14043. Brief description of proposed action, proposed 5,000 plus or minus square foot, one-story building addition. Name of applicant or sponsor, QMC Technologies, address 4388 Broadway, Depew. Getting into the questions, number 1, does the proposed action involve the legislative adoption of a plan, local law, ordinance, administrative rule, or regulation? No.
No.
Number 2, does the proposed action require a permit, approval, or funding from any other government agency? Yes, and this is for the site plan, we'll have to go to the ZBA for the variance on the setback. Number 3, the total acreage of the site of the proposed action, 1.08 acres. B, total acreage to be physically disturbed, 0.12 acres. C, total acreage owned or controlled by the applicant or project sponsor, 1.32 acres. Number 4, check all land uses that occur on, are adjoining, or near the proposed action. Checked off industrial. Number 5, is the proposed action A, a permitted use under the zoning regulations? Yes. B, consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan? Yes. Number 6, is the proposed action consistent with the predominant character of the existing built or natural landscape? Yes. Number 7, is the site of the proposed action located in or does it adjoin a state-listed critical environmental area? No. Number 8, A, will the proposed action result in a substantial increase in traffic above present levels? No. B, are public transportation services available at or near the site of the proposed action? No. C, are any pedestrian accommodations or bicycle routes available on or near the site of the proposed action? No. Number 9, does the proposed action meet or exceed the state energy code requirements? And just a note on that, that it will meet the state energy code requirements, so that'll be yes. Number 10, will the proposed action connect to existing public-private water supply? No, you are currently connected, obviously. Yes. Number 11, will the proposed action connect to existing wastewater utilities? No. Number 12, does the project site contain or is substantially contiguous to a building, archaeological site, or district which is listed on the National or State Register of Historic Places, or that has been determined by the Commissioner of the New York State Office of Parks and Recreation and Historic Preservation to be eligible for listing on the State Register of Historic Places? No. B, is the project site or any portion of it located in or adjacent to an area designated as sensitive for archaeological sites on the New York State Historic Preservation Office Archaeological Site Inventory? No. Number 13, does any portion of the site of the proposed action or lands adjoining the proposed action contain wetlands or other water bodies regulated by a federal, state, or local agency? No. B, would the proposed action physically alter or encroach into any existing wetland or water body? No. Number 14, identify the typical habitat types that occur on or are likely to be found on the project site. Suburban. Number 15, does the site of the proposed action contain any species of animal or associated habitats listed by the state or federal government as threatened or endangered? No. Number 16, is the project site located in the 100-year floodplain? No. Number 17, will the proposed action create stormwater discharge either from point or non-point sources? Yes. If yes, will the stormwater discharge flow to adjacent properties? No. B, will stormwater discharges be directed to established conveyance systems, runoff, and storm drains? Yes. The roof downspout drains will be into the existing system. Number 18, does the proposed action include construction of or other activities that will result in the impoundment of water or other liquids? No. Number 19, has the site of the proposed action or any adjacent property been the location of an active or closed solid waste management facility? No. And number 20, has the site of the proposed action or adjoining property been the subject of remediation for hazardous waste? No. So with that, a motion would be in order to make a recommendation to the lead agency, the village board, of a negative deck on the seeker.
I would like to make a motion, a negative declaration on the seeker review.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, on a motion by member Sohas, seconded by member Fedorovich to recommend to the village board a negative declaration on the seeker. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Member Soha.
Yes.
Member Fedorovich.
Yes.
Member Moravsky.
Yes.
Member Tuzik.
Yes.
Chairman Maciejewski.
Yes.
5 yes.
5-4, motion's carried. At this point, we would need a motion to accept the plan as submitted with the stipulation of a catch basin
Back corner of the property.
back corner of the property.
I, Member Matuzak, make a motion, make a recommendation to the village board to accept the site plans as submitted with the following stipulation, that a setback catch basin be put into the back of the property.
Is there a second?
I second.
On a motion by Member Matuzak, seconded by Member Morowski to make a recommendation to the village board to accept the plan as submitted with the stipulation. Roll call vote, please.
Member Soha,
Yes.
Member Federovich,
Yes.
Member Moravsky,
Yes.
Member Matuzak,
Yes.
and Chairman Maciejewski.
Yes. 5-4, the motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your input. Good luck with your project. Good luck with your business also. Thank you, everybody, for coming. With that, a motion is in order to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Nope. I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion by Member Federowicz, second by Member Soha to adjourn the meeting at 7:36 PM. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?